Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Magic Beans podcast. This is episode number 185. My name is Cracker, and I'm going to be your host for this episode. And I'm joined by a singular bean and my good mate, Chewy. How are you?
Good, mate. How are you? Good to be back on.
Very well. Yeah, good to have you.
Yeah, I think
Shorty and I had a
missed the
good
last
time
one
talking about
because of the
Modern last week.
Yeah, it was a good cast. I listened to that one in the car. It made me want to play some more Modern. Very much looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I missed the last cast because we had a couple of storms and I was running off a generator with no internet for a little while. But back in the first world, and I am got even internet, which was a bit sketchy up until this afternoon. The power supply on my router blew up, so I had to run to JB Hi-Fi and buy a new one.
Look, I'm not disappointed because I was kind of worried I was going to have to solo cast. It's been a while since we've had one of those.
Yeah, and to be fair, I reckon if we put a poll up and asked for which bean you'd prefer to do a solo cast, it wouldn't be Shorty or I, right? So I think you've done well.
I said to Amelia before, I was like, I don't know if Chewy's going to make it. I might have to just talk to myself for an hour, and no one wants to hear that. And I was like, actually, that's not true. I hear myself talk for an hour nonstop all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I'm kidding, everybody. Oh, dear. So we have got the Invitational this Saturday.
Finally.
Just a couple of short days.
This is what we call the
Finally,
eventual Invitational.
That's right. The 2023-ish Invi.
Yeah.
Because Arena's a hot piece of garbage.
Yeah, so, for those who may not remember, and I'm sorry for those that do remember if I'm, bringing up some old wounds, but Arena had a problem for, a long time where you just couldn't do matchmaking. So we just couldn't run our events. So we were, halfway through a league and people just couldn't, challenge each other and play. And there were other bigger tournament organizers who were trying to do similar things, and it just had to get scrapped, and it took them a really, really long time to resolve it. So they got there, but then Christmas and the holiday period, and then everything else gets in the way, and then we're like, okay, we're now confident enough in the platform that we can actually hold our indie from last year, which is just thanks, Wizards.
Indie company, man. Small budget.
Yeah, exactly. And why would they want to have things work on their flagship product? Oh no, it's not their flagship product. It's not.
Anyway,
not cards, is it?
Enough whinging about Arena, because we're going to play and watch a whole bunch of it this Saturday, and it's all going to be flawless.
Yes,
but Chewy, this is the culmination of our tournament series.
Yeah,
who lets us do that?
Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. They're a Facebook auction group that have nightly auctions and win it now posts. They do claim lots when new sets come out. They do insane giveaways when new sets come out. They have a full-time auctioneer, which means that their shipping and communication is the best that you'll find anywhere on the internet. And they are the sponsors, proud sponsors of the Magic Beans podcast and our tournament series. So I think we tallied things up, and with the Invitational and the events throughout the year, we are at $8,000 all up in cash and prizes that we've given away. So
crazy.
A little bit of that is,
and that's not even including the stuff that we just give away on stream, like all the commander decks and the.
That's right. Yeah, that's
pre-release
just
kits
prizes. Yeah, so some of the cash is from our Twitch subs, but the vast majority of that comes from Josh and Pat. So they allow us to run these free events. And that's the thing, free to come in and join and then play in these events and get insane value. And it's amazing, and we really do appreciate everything that Josh and Pats have done for us over 2023. And for everybody who's played in any of our events, I'm sure I speak for them and the broader community to say, thanks, Josh and Pats. And if you want to see this sort of thing happen because Josh and Pat's is an amazing pillar of the Magic community in Australia, and they support all sorts of things. They're running in-paper events, they're supporting other content creators. The best thing you can do is go over to jpmtgbazaar.com.au, follow the page, and just bid on some Magic cards. Outbid your friends, pick up some bargains. You're going to buy Magic cards anyway. You might as well get them cheaply, shipped well, and then have an amazing organisation that puts back into the Magic community. So if you're not doing that, then you should be.
Correct. All right. So, like we said, Envy this Saturday. And as is our usual couple of days before the show goes on, Shorty is frantically prepping the stream, like he always does, and does an excellent job of it. So he is busy doing that tonight, which is why he isn't on the cast.
Rumour has it.
But that gives us...
Rumour has it he hasn't actually emerged from his office for at least a week. So I know I spoke with his wife because it was her birthday. Happy birthday, Kat.
Yep.
And she was like, he didn't even buy me a birthday present. He's just been looking at the stream, and he's he's probably got 6 hairs on his chin because he hasn't even shaved. So
wow,
yeah, that's
a record.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a massive Herculean effort that Shorty puts in, and a lot of it
is
like we don't see, and the amount of work probably doesn't truly come through on the stream, but I know I really appreciate the work that Shorty puts in. It's part of what makes it really great. So if you're going to tune into the stream on Saturday, if you see something new, because it's not like Shorty it's not about just adding transitions and slides. He always makes these little tweaks and makes the stream that little bit better. Make sure you just let him know that you notice it, because, just let him know. Yeah. And tell him if you don't like it too. That's also...
Whoa. Even if you do like it, tell him you do.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means that what we get to do, though, is basically you and I get the job of just having things put in front of us, and then we just talk about them a lot, which is, honestly, it's our happy place.
Yeah.
we just sit here and talk. And so we're going to go through all the deck lists. We have top 16 that we've cut to.
Yeah, so this is our previous Invitational winner, the winner of all of our leagues, and then the highest point, so the most consistent players over, and we had a cut to the top 16, and they're going to battle it out. So it's standard. Everyone's submitted their deck lists. They're open deck lists, so we can talk about them now because this will come out a couple of days before the cast, and it also gives you listening at home a chance to go, oh, I like this deck, that's spicy, can't wait to see that, and maybe even let us know in the Discord who you think might be your favourite, who are you putting your money on.
You are allowed to cheer people on, for sure.
Absolutely.
We encourage it. So, full disclosure, a bunch of these matches have been played already in the first round. Chewy hasn't seen any of the games. I've seen 2. I'm not going to talk about them, and I'm not going to let that influence. Honestly, I watched the games, but I don't necessarily remember who won.
Okay, they're pretty cool, cool games rather than being.
They were cool games. I was doing some other stuff, but just watching, looking at Shorty's production more than anything because they're very condensed.
Nice, and they're being commentated on by our mods, the Magic Beans mods, if I'm correct as well.
Them and Shorty is doing them as well, which is cool.
Fantastic. So shout out to the mods. Really appreciate you putting that effort in. It's great.
So, in kind of no particular order, we're going to start with the Azzy G. And he has brought...
He's brought some spice.
It's a 4-colour deck, but it's not. It's Sultai Splash Inti, I think is probably the best way to describe it.
I think that's the only way to describe it, right? Like, just checking the sideboard.
Apart from Sekenzen, is the only other red activated ability out of anything.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. So... It's 4-colour legends, so he's being able to leverage Plaza of Heroes and Cavern of Souls for... the Cavern of Souls probably doesn't do too much, actually. No.
We've got one Cavern, so it's not like we're hard on that. Yeah. Because there is a full mix. You've got... I'm looking at one here that's the Phyrexian Merfolk Wizard next to an Elemental.
Yeah.
Next to an Ooze.
So what's the game plan here? Is this just playing... a culmination of the best creatures, having the best onboard presence, impactful things, being able to cast them with Plaza of Heroes and Relic of Legends, and just trying to incremental advantage. Is this just the rock, or is he trying to do something
Pretty much
extra here?
It's trying to leverage Rona a bit as well, I think. It's one of the few cards we've got. We've got 4 copies of a few things, but yeah, Rona is definitely a pretty strong engine that you can just kind of loot through your deck really quickly.
The best Merfolk looter ever, potentially?
Maybe? I don't know, man. Jason's Prodigy was pretty good.
Good point. I was going through all of the looters I could think of, and I didn't think of Jace. So probably the best since Jace. Let's just say that. I think that's a safe call. So
yeah. But we've got Relic of Legends is the other thing. Just really leveraging that. So it's a 3 mana artifact, tap for any color, and then you can tap an untapped legendary creature you control, and it adds mana of any color. So it's not even like it's just the color of the creature, which is pretty cool. So really interesting. There's some good removal. A lot of value.
Yeah, some cut downs, go for the throats, long goodbye, Urtai. So it's got plenty of ways to deal with your opponent's threats. And it just does so much like rummaging and looting. So Rona, as you mentioned, and then Urtai, takes advantage of all of those extra cards that you might see with Rona, and gets bigger and bigger, and lets
Inti. Do you mean
Inti? Sorry, Inti. Sorry.
Yeah. So Inti pops off.
Yeah,
it gets big really, really quickly. Whenever you attack, you may discard a card. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And whenever you discard one or more cards, exile the top card of your library. So you have Inti in play, you tap Rona, you draw and discard, which then lets you exile the top card of your library to Inti, and then you put a +1/+1 counter on Inti, and it's just a really good value.
Yeah, so
chain.
Inti fuels Inti, Rona, and then there's Rona copy number 5 is Vohar, Voldarian Desecrator. Has got a loot effect as well, and then lets you kind of buy back your spells. So it's a one of fun of. There's a few one of fun ofs in this list, and I'm interested to see how this goes. So I think.
And Slogurk will get really big as well, because whenever you put a land into your graveyard, it gets a +1/+1 counter. So
and interesting
just
that
a lot of synergies.
You're playing Sultai colors, you're playing things, you want to play Legends. There's only 1 copy of Sheoldred in the sideboard, none in the main deck, which is interesting. Shows, maybe the format has, with the advent of the Boros deck, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
It seems unlikely.
I think it may be represented in some numbers in our top 16. Just 4 mana things. Maybe the format's moved past that, which took a little while, I must say. But
yeah. And 29 lands. So don't expect Azzy to miss land drops ever.
No, but I think this is something we saw with Esper Legends and the league that Tom D won. So Beseju ×2, Otawara, Soaring City ×4, 2 Sekenzans, 4 Takanuma.
Yep.
They've all got that.
All the channel lands.
Yeah, but they've all got that. This costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. So they're just spells, right? So they're modal cards in this deck. So it's never going to miss a land drop. Check, that's a thing that you want to happen in general. And then, you've got all of those spells. You've got the boomerangs, the token generation, you've got the zombify effect, and the naturalize effect. I was going to say the disenchant, but it's green. So it's it just comes pre-boarded almost through the power of lands, and that's massive. So I think this deck's got a lot of play to it, a lot of decisions. It probably looks like a bit of a pile at first glance, but you got to remember Azzy G's going to be the one piloting this, and he's in the Invi for a reason. So I'm looking forward to seeing this deck in action.
Yeah, me too. I tell you what, I know we had a list, but let's go down the pairings. So Azzy is actually paired up against his wife.
No, again.
He's battling, again, round one, Sarah Soldiers. It's like you and Shorty at pre-releases.
It just happens. Yeah, every time.
It's just going to happen. You just know that it's going to be that way. So let's have a look at what Sarah Soldiers is bringing to the party. And we talked about Boros Convoke, and here it is.
So Sarah Soldiers has got Boros Convoke plus, right? So this is a slightly different take on the deck that is sort of that you're going to run into on ladder. So what's this deck trying to do, Cracker? What's its game plan?
So turn 1, Novice Inspector or Voldaran Epicure, and then turn 2, another one, and then Gleeful Demolition. And so you just want to have a million creatures. So on turn 2, you can have 4 creatures in play, 5 creatures in play, pretty easily.
Yeah, and then
it's kind of wild. And then you want a Knight Errant of Eos, convoke out one of those big. I was going to say, for whatever reason, the art on this card makes me think it has flying.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. It's a lion. Like it's not. It's clearly not flying. It's running along a thing.
Yeah, but there's some flight to it. I get that. But yeah, so it's like making a bunch of tokens. So with either Clue, Blood, Goblin, or Soldier tokens makes a bunch of those as well, and then a whole bunch of ways to kind of make them bigger, right? So War Leader's Call is a pretty sweet Glorious Anthem. It's like Glorious Anthem and Pandemonium or Impact Tremors, had a summer holiday together. Warden of the Sky gets bigger. Regal Bunnicorn can be big. And then Imodane's Recruiter. Like, it just can just pump out ridiculous amounts of damage really, really quickly. I've died to this deck on, like, turn 4, I think. Or at least probably scooped on turn 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it just can just get under so many things. And it's pretty crazy. But Sarah's she's got a couple of different colors that she can call on here. There's a couple of copies of Copperline Gorge, Razorverge Thicket, and Restless Prairies. So some green, and which lets her play the adventure side of Kellen, Daring Traveler. So Kellen is a 2-mana 2/3. When he attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card with mana value 3 or less, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it in your graveyard. So doing work in a decent 2-drop in your aggressive deck that might also give you some card advantage. But it's also got create X map tokens, where X is 1 plus the number of opponents who control an artifact. So you can also, on turn 1, in the mirror, or later on if you need something to feed your Gleeful Demolition, Kellen can do that. But in the sideboard, we've also got Questing Druid, which is a Gruul coloured cards, and then Malira, the Living Cure. So 2-mana 3/3, so like Watchwolf but with text. If you would get 1 or more poison counters, instead you get 1 poison counter, and you can't get additional point encounters this turn. A sideboard card if someone wants to bring Infect action. But then the second paragraph, because that's how we deal with text on Magic cards these days. Exile Malira, choose another target creature or artifact. When it's put in a graveyard this turn, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. That's pretty spicy on your Knight Errant of Eos, we've got to tell you.
Seems good.
Yeah.
Really, this is the aggressive deck, right? This is just going wide and then pumping really quickly. You can, ideally, you're trying to kill on, like you said, turn 3, effectively, or turn 4. So, you get a good attack on turn 2 with a bunch of stuff, and then Imodane's Recruiter, just giving everything +1/+0 and haste until end of turn is really strong. Or your War Leader's Call as well. He's just pumping the squad. And that can make your Knight Errant, which can come out on turn 2 or turn 3 pretty easily. So really, really strong. And also a copy of Mirex in the mana base here.
Yep.
Which you're talking about, Malira. Mirex is a pretty good finisher in a bunch of different decks. You'll see it in control lists and things sometimes. So yeah, not a great surprise there. Single copy of Aganjo, single copy of Sekenzen. This deck is not looking to dirtle. It can't really afford to. If you're on the Sekenzen plan, you're struggling because there's no. I don't think you've got Kellen, and I think that's the only legend.
Yeah,
So
I think
you're not getting
Sekenzen
these
is like
discounts.
I need to eke out the last 2 points of damage with my alpha attack.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's
It's your fifth copy of the Resolute Reinforcements.
Exactly. Yeah,
costs you 4.
Resolute Reinforcements with kicker. That gives them haste. Yeah. So everything kicker. I like the idea of going through the matchups. So why don't we just like Penchair Wungasith? What are your?
All right. So hang on before we do that.
Okay.
Azzy versus Sarah.
Sarah wins that matchup 100% of the time because she's a better Magic player than us. No,
she finished higher in the standings than Azzy did by several places. All right,
I could see the colours in Azzy's deck, meaning that he can, if he stumbles, Sarah just punishes here. So for that reason, I think Azzy's deck is definitely the cooler deck, but any sort of stumble and Azzy just dies, right? So for that reason, I'm gonna say Sarah's probably gonna get the chocolates.
Yeah, probably, but Azzy also has access to 3 Glistening Deluge in the sideboard, which is a pretty effective sweeper against all the little white creatures that get pumped out. So I can see game 1. I mean, Dice Roll dependent, of course. I can see game 1. Actually, no, Sarah will be on the play because she's the higher seed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So game 1, I think Sarah's just going to run away with,
and then it'll come down to Azzy.
I think post board games it'll be interesting. Yeah, I think we're going to see this go to 3 games. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, I think Sarah being on the play is massive because she'll be on the play in game 3, and I think she'll just get it done.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So, who have we got next?
We have got
Penchair Wungasith.
Yeah, Penchair Wungasith. So Penchair, highest ranked player again, right? That's 2
years in a row. Yeah,
and
finishing on top of the standings.
And Wungasith's no stranger to this stage either. So
no, he is not.
So it's a definite sort of clash of the titans here almost. So Penchair is on straight Boros, so we don't need to explain what the deck does. Scrolling through to find any points of difference. Sanguine Evangelist is in the list for Penchair, so it's a 3-mana 2/1 with Battle Cry. So when it attacks, things get pumped, and it creates a black bat when it enters the battlefield or dies. So a 3-mana 3/2, right? Basically over bodies that then pumps the rest of your team. So good magic card. No,
more. It's a 4/3 because it's when it enters and dies.
Oh yeah, yep. It's more
enters or dies. So you get a 1/1 on entry and on exit, which is cool.
I like Penchair's sideboard sort of in a vacuum. But yeah, just want to go through it and then keep that in mind when we talk about Wungasith's deck. So 3 copies of Destroy Evil. 4 copies of Invasion of Gobakhan, 3 Lantern Flare, so that's the white with red cleave kicker costs, does X damage to creature or planeswalker. Lithomantic Barrage, 1 red for a sorcery, can't be countered, does 1 damage to target creature or planeswalker, deals 5 damage if it's white or blue. And a couple of copies of Wedding Announcement. So a really, 3/4, 3/3/2, like it's a nice, very clear plans sideboard. I love when I see sideboards like this. There's, 5 different cards, right? So I think that tells me that Penchair knows what's up, which doesn't surprise me at all. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes. Is there anything else that jumps out at you in Penchair's list here?
It's got 18 1-drops.
Yeah.
It's so many 1-drops.
18
1-drops. Yeah, because you can sack... The Ocean Frontline is cool, man. Because do you remember the Ocean Soldier from back in the day?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's a white creature for a 2/1, I'm pretty sure, with no text at all.
Yep.
But this one is colorless for a 1/1, then when it attacks,
Pump something else.
another target. Yeah,
That's
but
not
it also has Unearth. So you can Gleeful Demolition it because it's an artifact.
You can
creature.
Gleeful Demolition it twice.
And then unearth it. Exactly. So it's just, that is really what Penja is doing. He's got, Sarah had a single copy of the frontliner.
Yeah.
But, Penja is really just setting up to make sure that he can
This is
Gleeful Demolition on
hyper-aggressive.
2. It is very aggressive.
This is outside of a mono red deck, this is one of the more aggressive decks we've seen in a standard format for some time.
In a long time. Seems, like you said, very clean, very, very focused. Also, a bit more utility, two copies of Mirrex and 2 copies of Sekenzen, because there's not a need to splash for green sideboard cuts.
Yeah,
It frees up some of your options there about being able to play an extra colourless pip.
Yep.
Because really, War Leader's Call is kind of the only 2-colour card, but you really need to make sure you've got white or red.
Yeah, the old school Magic player in me is loving seeing the Pain Lands, in top tier standard decks as well, because they weren't for a long time. But I guess it's where standard's at. What do you think of the Thran Portal?
Just looking at that,
single one of end of tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. Okay, so it's like a fast land. Choose a land type. It is the land type. Mana abilities of Thran Portal cost an additional 1 life. So I think it's just I don't know.
It's a mana confluence.
Yeah.
On the first 3 land
Which
drops.
is kind of like Mirrex that lets you...
Kind of. But it also, you don't get to choose... it is set to a singular colour, right?
Yeah. So it's just fixing. Interesting. Also, could be a planes, I suppose, but Pencha's probably done the maths and So if you want to build this deck and you're running out of rare wild cards, just make Thran Portal a planes and you'll be okay. So what's Pencha playing against?
Pencha is playing against Wunga Sith. And Wunga Sith has got... It's a 3-colour deck, again. But we are going with... I've gone blank on this colour combination.
Jund.
Black, green, red. Jund. How did I forget Jund?
Because it's so middling.
Wow. This is it's a Soul Cauldron deck, kind of.
It's only a single copy.
It is.
But it's got Beseech
it's mostly a black deck. It does have Beseech the Mirror. And also 4 copies of Tyvar, which is a card that I've seen more in Modern than I have in Standard, so it's cool to see.
I forgot that it was even in.
It's pretty good. You get to just rebuy all your creatures, because almost all your creatures, except for the Voldar and Thrillseeker, actually just get rebought by Tyvar. So this is quite aggressive. We've got 8 1-drops, and then, what is there, 16 creatures? No, there's not. But it's Insidious Roots is the other card here.
Yeah, creature tokens you have Birds of Paradise without flying. Whenever multiple creatures leave your graveyard, create a plant, and then put a +1 counter on each plant you control. So you've got Urborg Repossession, you've got Agatha's Soul Cauldron, you've got Armored Scrap Gorger.
Well, all of them. So
the
all your 1-drops rebuy or exile from your graveyard to then create a plant token, which will get big. The Undead Butler, you can do the same thing. Tyvar does it all. So it's an Insidious Roots deck.
Yeah, with a cauldron, the threat of a cauldron shenanigans as a sort of alternate win condition. So
yeah, it's cool.
I like it, and it might be able to, like with the self-mill in the early turns, and if it hits an Insidious Roots, gum up the ground long enough to survive the barrage from the Boris deck, and then eventually be the bigger deck. So yeah, I think it's especially when you've got Brotherhood's End in the sideboard. I think there's game here. There is game here for sure.
There definitely is. I just wonder whether it's a little too slow. Like this, we are playing 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 kind of thing. I don't know that you're going to be able to keep up with the
Penchers on the play as well.
The velocity of the the Boros deck. I think it might just be too wide, too quick.
Yeah.
And you've got Pylon, which means you've got to you can obviously block and then convoke, but I think that the sizing that the War Leader's Call and the Recruiter will make the Boros deck into as well might just outscale this.
It's got
it might not
Blackcleave
be able
Cliffs,
to.
though, Cracker. It's like your all-time favourite land.
It's true.
Yeah.
I have played that many a time.
Yeah.
And called it Cliffs.
Yep.
But this deck looks really cool. Like I'm really, and I might just be vastly underestimating it. The mana production that you can get out of Insidious Roots, and if you can get that engine going,
Oh yeah.
you can spit out a lot of tokens. You can spit out just a lot, and they can scale very quickly. So definitely, not counting this out by any stretch.
Yeah, I think if I have to pick someone being on the play and being being pen chair, like no disrespect at all to Wongasith, but like up against it here, right? I think I've got to give the on percentage, I've got to give it to pen chair to take this one down. Is my prediction? That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
The one thing that I would note here is that this is where open deck lists really change things, because your mulligan decisions, in the dark, you would keep a very different hand against the field than you would against, Penchair with his Boros deck. You know exactly what's going on. So you're going to be looking for a potentially different set of cards and
absolutely
working out that way.
And it also means that we're going to see better sideboarding decisions, because they're going to have time to develop a plan. Like, this is what I've got to work with. I can't change my sideboard. It's deck list is submitted, but what's my plan here against this matchup and moving through. So,
how many levels deep do you go? How many sideboard options do you bring in against their sideboard options, and then level them and don't get carried away?
It's a whole mini game. So,
exactly.
Pretty awesome.
Cool. All right.
Doc Hemsey versus the AV Cable.
I don't think these guys have ever played before.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. Oh. They've played in every Envy we've had.
Yeah. It's like, I thought you meant like they haven't played against each other, but like...
I'm sure they've played against each other.
Yeah.
So, no strangers to anybody here. Hemsey and AV Cable bringing... Hemsey looks like he's got a... It's a Boros aggressive deck here.
Yeah.
A little different.
It's the third one now.
It is.
But it's got a Hemsey flavour to it, I think.
Doesn't it always?
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess the main difference that I'm looking at here is we go compared to Penchair. So this is a Boros deck. It's not playing green in the sideboard, but it's playing a couple of copies of the Witch Stalker Frenzy as like additional removal, which is 4 mana for an instant, but it costs 1 less for each creature that attack this turn, and it deals 5 to target creature.
Quite often,
so it
like
looks
1 red, 5 to something. It's pretty good.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
it's fantastic, and you can do it like I attack and I kill your Shieldred before you can block. Kind of thing.
Exactly,
because you can do it as they've attacked. So before you move to blockers, blah blah blah. The difference between Penchair's and Hemsey's lists are Penchair was just maxing the Case of the Gateway Express, and it looks like that's where the main difference is there. And then also Penchair had another 1-drop, but I mean Hemsey's got 17. It's still very much
lot.
The same.
Yeah, Case of the Gateway Express is interesting. It's very easy to have 3 creatures attack that turn, and then it's 1/2 of a Glorious Anthem, and the half you want in an aggressive deck. So it's that's a good card for it's a good thing to play on your on a turn that you want to get some beats in. So I think it's
also just like it's actually a good removal spell. Like when it ETBs, target creature you control, choose a target creature you don't control, and each creature you control deals 1 damage to that creature. So you can have 3, 4, 5 creatures on turn 3.
Take down most
you play this and it just kill anything. It's not a fight either. Like it's just a punch.
And it just works well. It's just like, okay, you've got your big thing that might, start stopping my attack. I'm gonna drop this, kill your biggest thing, attack. It's then solved.
And then next turn they're bigger and attacking again.
Yeah. So it's the damage output for 1 and a white when you've got a board presence is significant here. I think it's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, really good.
The sideboard is interesting. End the festivities for the mirror. Yeah, which is good. Destroy evil. Get lost. I like that card. Invasion of Gobokan. 2 copies of Knockout Blow, which I sideboarded in limited. But yeah, it's 3 mana. Knockout Blow deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature, and you gain 2 life. But it costs 2 less to cast if it targets a red creature. So yeah. That's pretty good. There's not a lot of red creatures in these aggressive decks, but, a great card to have against, like, mono red. So, pretty good. The Barrage. Regal Bunnycorn's in the sideboard here. It's been the main deck that we've seen. The Evangelist, War Leader's Call, and going a bit bigger and slower with Wedding Announcement. So, we know what this deck's about. We're expecting some aggressive draws. But I think Hemsey is set up for a bit of a longer game, but also without sacrificing his like pure aggression. I think the Witchstalker Frenzy does that. Like gets if his opponent does attempt to stabilize, he's like, I'm having none of that, and think so. Yeah, I think it's a good take on the deck. And
do you mean like when the AV cable casts his Sheldrits?
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So this has got a bit of rogues about it, maybe? Like, I think you're probably more qualified to talk about AV Cable's deck than me.
Yeah. So blue-black, kind of control-y, but also doing some other stuff. So we've got Cut Down and Spyglass Sirens as the 1-drops. And then Deep Cavern Bats, which pretty good actually. It's going to hit a lot of stuff in a lot of the field. You can, steal a card.
Mesmeric Fiend
and then exile it.
Is a thing. Yeah, absolutely.
It sure is. Yep. Fairy Mastermind.
4 copies.
I'm a big fan of.
4 copies.
4 copies. Wants to draw those cards. Wants to do the flash thing.
Yeah.
Go for the throat. Make disappear Subterranean Schooner.
This was a surprise because it's not the only place this card shows up in our MV. So this is blue and a 1 for a 3/4 vehicle with crew 1. Decent. Blue and 1, not colorless. When it attacks, target creature that crewed it this turn explores. So it's a decent body. No evasion, like subterranean, but no, I don't know, landwalk or anything.
It's sailing through a cavern for reasons.
Yeah. So it's 3/4 for 2 mana, and if you effectively gives all of your creatures haste in a way, and it's then gets things bigger. Like explore is just value, right? So it's a very
but
interesting.
It's making your things bigger as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. It's either it's value in that things are growing, or you're getting cards in your hand. So
just card selection.
Both of those things are good. The Cryptic Coat is really interesting. I drafted this card. It's really good in limited.
Yep.
And as a one of fun of, I like it. So you get to turn one of your the top card of your library into a face down creature and equip this thing, and it turns it into a 3/2 unblockable that you can then bounce the Cryptic Coat. So it's pretty good.
It is. Then we've got 3 copies of Gix, and then also 3 copies of the Preacher of the Schism, which is interesting. So you're going to spit out a bunch of vampire tokens, and if you're not spitting out vampire tokens, then you're drawing a card and losing a life. It's kind of doing everything you want.
Absolutely.
And it's a 2/4 with Death Touch. So like you can just kind of sit there and play defense really well too. Like it's a really difficult body size for the Boros decks to get over. They kind of need to have like the Imodane and the War Leaders in play before most of their creatures are going to get past it effectively, and then still, I guess you don't really care about trading a token for a 3-drop, but the Preacher's going to get a lot of value. So I'd still call this a control deck. I think that's kind of the only way to. It's got 2 copies of Ertai, 3 copies of Sheldred, bunch of blue and black lands, and then in the sideboard,
3 copies of Nightclubber. I had to go, oh, what's that card? But it's a way to shrink your opponent's creatures, but also blitzing it out as well is definitely a thing you can do. So it's get that recursion of the that effect, which is pretty nice. So
yes, bunch of different interacting spells. You've got cut downs and counter spells and some tide binders and all that sort of stuff. So kind of covering their bases there with the different options they've got for the AVK rule.
Yeah, who do you think wins this one? I think it's really tight.
It is. Hemsey's on the play.
Okay, that's a big plus. But I think Tom D's deck's well set up. The 2/4, the Sheoldreds, the sideboard.
I think the extra removal in Hemsey's deck pushes it advantaged here.
Yeah,
Compare
probably
Hemsey's extra copies of Witchstalker. Well, it's just a clean answer to Sheoldred, which the case might not always be. You're not always going to have
enough creatures,
5 creatures in play the turn you want to do that, because AV Cable is interacting a lot.
Yes,
right. Like there's 6 main deck just straight removal spells, plus there's
all the value,
4 counter spells and 4 card stealing.
The Schooner's not bad on defense either.
Schooner is really strong.
Yeah. So I think Hemsey by I'm talking like 48-52 percentage wise here, and just towards Hemsey is my prediction.
Yeah, I think if Hemsey stumbles at all, I think this deck will punish him really hard.
Yes, but also vice
think
versa.
That if he can, for sure, absolutely. But I don't think that the Boros deck is just asking questions constantly, and this Dimir deck has got kind of all the answers. I think just do they line up? Can you block when you need to, or the make disappear at the right time will kind of be crushing if you're looking to push through damage with the recruiter or something like that, and it just doesn't happen. Then that can all of a sudden you're sitting there with a bunch of 1/1s and a couple of 2/1s, and you're sitting there looking at a pair of a 2/4 and a 4/5 and even a siren that you've grown a couple of times with the Schooner, all of a sudden it's a 3/3, and it's just there's no good attacks. There's no
and with
no
the evasion, it's just like
through.
I've gummed up the ground, and then I can just sit here and attack you with my
you just take control.
Yep, absolutely. Speaking of control, the next matchup is blue-white control in the hand of our reigning Envy champion Plunks.
It sure is.
And we've got opposite ends of the standard spectrum playing against Mr. M, but let's talk about Plunks' deck for now. So this is pure blue-white control. I crafted this deck. I've been playing it.
Did you?
Oh, it's really good.
This is full Cheons, man.
Oh, I love it. And it's most of my wins come from concessions rather than actually getting my opponents to 0. If you're looking for a deck that's going to move you through the ladder quickly, this ain't it. But it's a fun, very powerful deck. I like blue-white control is real.
Are you telling me the deck with a single creature in it takes a while to win the game?
You can kind of count Sunfall as a creature, right?
You can kind of count the Wandering Emperor as a creature too.
Yeah.
And
it's got 3 Reckless Anchorage, so yeah.
And the Mirrex.
Yeah. But it is.
But it has pure, 1 horned Lock Whale.
Yeah, it's like
pure control
old school control, and I'm about it. It's got Attica Waste, seeing those old school lands.
Seagram Coast.
Yeah. Seeing those old school. I still think Seagram Coast is a new Magic card, Cracker.
It is not.
It is not. It's well over 10 years old, probably. But yeah, No More Lies. Great counterspell, and then Temporary Lockdown. Very good with all the Boros decks running around. Combined with Sunfall to populate. This deck's got 8 sweepers plus point removal in the Horned Whale. One side of that is some interaction. March the Otherworldly Light. Get Lost as well. It's this deck's very cool.
It seems really strong.
If you're into it. So there's some people look at this and just roll their eyes. And I get that. You're allowed to be wrong, but it's very, very cool.
I like the fact that it's got more than like one copy of Teferi as the win condition. It, like, jokes aside, it will actually close out games really quickly once it takes control.
Yeah.
And so, like, you say, oh, people can see it. It's like, yeah, because
they just know it's
a Wandering Emperor and you've deluged twice and you've got 6 cards in hand.
Yeah, and you've still got, like, and you've still got a couple of
a 1/1 in play.
Deduce clues around. Like, the game's over. So, yeah, I like it. But the perfect foil for a blue-white control deck has to be a mono-red deck, right?
Uh-huh.
And
this is the Shorty special.
Yeah, I can see Shorty probably quite excited about this deck. And, like, it's pretty gas. Take us through this.
Man, this is just flat-out aggression. So 21 drops.
Yes.
And then, so Commando cases, Kakazan, Swift Spear, Monstrous Rage to punch damage, Phoenix Chick, and Play with Fire. Just 4 copies of each. And then Bloodthirsty Adversary, Charming Scoundrel, again, Hasty Guys, Felden, Hasty, Codebreaker, Hasty, Lightning Strike, just
Lightning Strike,
burn.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the most expensive card we've got is Squee, the Dubious Monarch, also Hasty, and brings some Gobbo mates.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple of copies of the Witch Stalker Frenzy, which we were talking about before.
Yeah, with all
18 mountains.
Yeah, love it.
18 mountains, man. This is a pretty cheap deck to build.
Yeah, 18 mountains, 3 Mishra's Factory, and 1 Sekenzen.
Foundry.
3 Trips Foundry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's it can just push through damage and go face and Squee comes back. Everything's got haste. Felden's cards, Charming Scoundrels, got some utility. Bloodthirsty Adversary is a great 2-drop, but if the game goes long, it's also a great 5-drop. So it's
Kamano into Swift Spear or Kamano into Phoenix Chick is just like a disgusting start.
I lost to a deck on ladder the other day. They went for turn 1 Kamanu, turn 2 Swift Spear, Monstrous Rage. Mm-hmm. And I was just so far on the back foot. And they just didn't need to play other things. They just sat back on burn spells and waited for me to play a sweeper, and then just everything's got haste
exactly. You don't have to overextend because you're like, okay, deal with these 3, cool. I'm going to play 3 more next turn, and they've all got haste.
Yeah.
Deal with those, cool. I'm going to play another one.
Yep.
It's Squee. It's making another one.
Yeah, exactly right. So it
just goes off.
It's a very powerful deck, and the sideboard and the festivities times 3. So pretty good in this field with the barrage as well. 2 copies of Obliterating Bolt. Only does 4 damage, doesn't kill Sheoldred, but the Frenzy does. Twisted Fealty is a pretty good threaten. Talk to me about Urabrask's Forge in this deck.
Yeah, so this is when you decided you have to go just a little bit slower. So it's 200 red for an artifact, and at the beginning of your turn, you put an oil counter on the Forge, and then create an X1 red Phyrexian Horror creature token with trample and haste, where X is the number of oil counters on the Forge, and then you sacrifice it.
It's like,
so
play
every turn it gets
all the sweepers you want.
Because just every turn it ticks up, and it starts as a 1/1, and then it's a 2/1, and it's a and they've got trample and they've got haste, and they just, we know what's happening every turn, and it's another threat, and usually you can't afford to bring in artifact removal against a deck that doesn't have artifacts, but then you can side in 4.
Yeah.
And just really load up on these. And if you get 2 into play, it's just gross. Couple of copies of Vampire's Vengeance as well.
Yeah, so
to
an extra
really just hammer
effects,
really hammer the Boros decks.
Yeah, not really relevant in this particular matchup, but I think I've plunked this on the play, but I believe so anyway. No,
Mr. M
is on the play. Okay, that probably moves the needle. I think Mr. M gets it done here. I think he's got the sideboard to beat the sweepers. Counter spells, Plunksy's siding most of them out, right? Like he doesn't want to sit back on mana. He wants to use his mana every turn, otherwise he's just going to get run over. So Plunksy goes to more sorcery speed in games 2 and 3, and Mr. M gets the sideboard. So I think Mr. M would be my prediction. Not supremely confident in that, but yeah, having to pick, I think that's where I'd put my money. So
yeah, I think if this was against one of the Convoke decks, I think that I would give it to Plunks.
Yes,
but
he's set up to beat those decks, right? Yeah,
correct. The constant flow of haste creatures out of this other deck, I think, just might prove a little much.
Yeah, I think so. So the next one that we've got here is Rolling Royce and Insanity.
Mm-hmm.
So Stalwart in Rolling Royce and absolute regular now with Insanity. So
yep,
Rolling Royce on the Boris deck. So
yep, so is Insanity.
Yeah, Rolling Royce Kamano faces Kakazan in the Boris deck.
We're up to 22 1-drops.
Mate, I just want to play Wizards. Can we have?
You can't have Chalice.
Can't we? Can't we have Chalice in Standard?
You cannot have Chalice.
It'll be so
good. They're never printing that card again.
Chalice in every format, please, Wizards. Yeah. I think Kamano Face Kakazan's a really interesting addition to this deck. Like, it's really good on turn 1 and okay after that. Yeah.
It's interesting. I actually think it's better on turn 2.
When you
I think you want to still play Inspector or Epicure on turn 1.
Yeah.
And then Kakazan and then Demolition. And then you can have...
It says whenever you cast your next creature, not when it comes into play. For...
Sure, but then you can still just cast a 1-drop on turn 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either way. Yeah. I don't know.
It's a good card. Like,
it's a lot of 1-drops.
Yeah.
Correct. Agreed.
And having a look at Insanity's list, it just looks... 4 copies of Regal Bunnycorn and is the standout here. We've seen, single copies or copies in the sideboard, but just go, I'm going to play a 2-mana 6/6. Yeah.
It feels like there's a lot more white in Insanity's deck than the other ones.
That's an Insanity thing. He doesn't have the...
He doesn't have the War Leader's Calls.
Yeah.
Which I mean, obviously there's a reason for it. The Bunnycorns are just getting huge, I guess is the thought there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, probably a little more consistent with I don't know, the mana is still, there's a lot of, still got 3 mountains and a bunch of battlefield forges and things. So still lots of opportunity to make red mana. I'm just looking here. One of the things that does jump out is that he's playing the full 4 copies of Cavern of Souls. And there's a lot of humans.
Rabbit, human.
Rabbit.
Human,
vampire.
Human.
So yeah, you can kind of
humans.
name either vampire or human, and that will get you most of your creatures into play uncounterable. Not that we're going to see a lot of counter magic, but
it's interesting
just a thought there.
Which clause of Cavern of Souls is more important at various times? I played Cavern of Souls in Eldrazi just for the can't be countered thing. Obviously, I don't care about color fixing in that deck, but that was why we played it. Where here it's predominantly a mana fixer, but there are then corner cases where it might be useful that you can't counter my thing. So yeah, it's very interesting. I was playing it in the Domain deck. It's like you cannot counter my Atraxa because I picked it.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Coin flip on this one.
Absolute coin flip. Yeah, both amazing players and too close to call. Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
Who's next? We've got Tech 1200 v Dark Harness. Yeah. So
I said I've only watched a couple of the matches. This might have been one of them because Dark Harness's deck.
I'm gonna completely defer to you here and just nod knowingly.
Nod knowingly.
Yeah.
So this is a reanimated deck. And I love me some Reanimator. The joke here, the reanimation spell that you are trying to cast is called Reenact the Crime. So 1 and triple blue for an instant. It says exile target non-land card in a graveyard that was put there from anywhere this turn. Copy it. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. You are trying to you're trying to get Atraxa into play or cast a Breach the Multiverse, Conspiracy Unraveler, and Virtue of Persistence. So those are like your big payoffs. And those are real big payoffs.
They're huge. And there's also Virtue of Persistence as another way to bring stuff back. But yeah, it's...
correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're trying to reenact the crime of Virtue of Persistence into play. You don't want to pay 7 mana for it. I mean, you can, but that's not the plan.
No.
So really just trying to look to discard or... just
so
get loot cards
Vault,
into the graveyard.
Rona, Vohar does all of the looting.
Mm-hmm. Jace.
Kaito, Jace.
Also loots.
Yeah.
So just a bunch of different ways to get creatures or get the permanents you want into the graveyard. And then you've got 4 copies of Reenact the Crime. You've also got a copy of Beseech the Mirror, so you can go and cast Beseech the Mirror to get Reenact the Crime to cast that and then get back your thing. But yeah, the value out of this deck is nutty.
How good is Underground? No, that's not the one. Undercity Sewers, the Surveil land in the Reanimator deck. That's where it's at.
It's real good.
It's real good. This deck is super cool. It has, it can still just cast things for 7 mana.
It can.
And win the game. And Celestis is mana rock. I love the repository scarb to buy back your Reenact the Crimes. That's cute as a sort of the 60th card, if you like.
Is it wrong that I want Darkanus to have an Atraxa into play and then repository scarb kill it? Then reenact the crime back the Atraxa just for the
that's a lot of cards in hand.
Value chain. It is a lot of cards. It's a lot of mana.
The sideboard's interesting. Path to Peril with Rafine's Tower in the main deck as a blue-black dual land, but also a way to cleave the path, some negate, some more.
Well, there's also 2 copies of that in the main as well.
Yeah, yes, you're right. So it's and like I don't know, just like cast Breach the Multiverse, like. That's a fun way to play cards. So
that wins you the game pretty quick.
Yeah. So
I didn't realize Pithing Needle was in standard. I just completely forgot that card was a thing you could do.
Yeah. I like that. If that was evergreen in standard, I think it would be a nice little safety net for the format.
Yeah, agreed.
So what's Tech playing? Tech's deck's cool. So we're not going to do a deck tech. We're going to do a tech deck. Is that right? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
So there are some similarities to Plunks' blue-white control deck, but then there's some departures from it, right?
Yeah, he plays 2 creatures. What's with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's...
Actually, he plays more than 2, but...
But it's like, Doorkeeper Thrall. Which is 1 and a white for a 1/2 flash flying. Artifacts and creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. What's he?
Seems pretty good against Atraxa.
Seems really good against Atraxa, but what else is this trying to hit in standard?
It's good against the Recruiter as well.
Ah, of course. Yeah. And
it stops the pump.
Captain of
Ranger Captain of Eos.
Yeah. I think that's the wrong card, but I know that the flying lion that doesn't fly. Yeah. The Knight Errant.
Ranger Captain's the other one.
Yeah, that's the modern one.
Yeah, it's Eos.
Yeah, so this is a bit more of a on-board present blue-white control deck. It seems pretty good.
Not much more, really.
Not much more, no.
You've got the 2 copies of the Doorkeeper Thrall. You've got an extra Horned Lock Whale, but I mean it's still just 3 copies of Lockdown, 3 copies of Sunfall, a bunch of point removal, a bunch of counter spells, and then sitting back on Emperor and Deluge. It's still very much just a hard blue-white control deck.
And does that put it over the top of someone kind of trying to cast big sorceries in your predictions? No. It's whoa.
It'll be close. It'll be really interesting.
Have a look at the sideboard though. Denic. Cards in graveyard can't be the target of spells or ability. Ooh.
Yeah.
I think. Look, Dark Harness is a very good Magic play. Taking nothing away from Tech, but Dark Harness is up there. But I think Tech's set up well in this matchup. So I'm gonna. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're allowed to.
I'm sorry. I know your heart's in Reanimator, and Dark Harness's deck is the cooler deck. No debate there. But I think Tech might get the chocolates here.
No, I disagree because Dark Harness has got a bunch of really clean removal that he can just take out.
In the sideboard as well.
He's got Duress, Spell Pierce, and Negate.
Yeah.
They all come in.
Yeah, very
You can also play Jace, another copy of Jace Perfected Mind, and just, mill yourself out or mill your opponent out. Like, I don't know. But he doesn't have to force...
Denic and Negate come in for Tech as well, though. Then outcomes like temporary lockdowns and things. So game one is really interesting. It comes down to which half of the deck that Tech draws, I think. If he draws all the Sunfalls and lockdowns and not the disruption protocols and no more lies, then Dark Harness just gets to do things for free. But it's a sideboard match is going to be very interesting. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can just hard cast a Traxxas as well. Like, the Collector's Vault will let you...
Yeah, very true.
...loot through and like, play the slower kind of thing, so...
And the reenactment puts a copy of it in, not a token that's a copy, right? So it can't be hit by a temporary lockdown?
You cast a copy without paying its mana cost.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it's
a copy of the spell,
yeah,
but it is not a token copy.
Yeah, so it has more... It costs more than
It'll retain the mana value.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So...
I got to go for Dark Harness.
Yeah, okay. I feel that. Yeah. I think Tech's got the tools.
The tech.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's have a look at Joffrey Bieber and Aragoth. Mm-hmm. So Aragoth is playing some... Hang on.
Blue-white aggro.
Blue-white aggro. Here we go. Just my browser is doing things.
Yeah. So, Case the Uneaten Feast, Lunarch Veteran, and then a bunch of removal spells, counter spells. The Schooner is back. Tidebinder is back. We got 4 copies of Wedding Announcement and 2 copies of Virtue of Loyalty.
What is this, 2022?
Yeah. Copy of Farewell. Some Rabble Rousing.
Yeah, so it's a rabble-rousing deck, right? Like, effective. It's only 3 copies, but yeah, it's a pretty cool.
Feels like it's a Wedding Announcement deck again.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a throwback, isn't it?
And then Skrell's Hive as well, which is another throwback to kind of what people used to do.
The sweepers are interesting. It's just like, oh, you've gotten ahead of me. Like, goodbye, all of the things. I don't think the Destroy All Enchantments mode will get chosen too often on Farewell. I don't
think that will come.
No.
No, I don't expect so.
But, you don't have to click all the modes on Farewell. But deck's very cool. My concern with this deck is sometimes you'll have a bunch of 3 and 5 drops and counter magic and have no sort of pressure, and then other decks will kind of overtake you. And that's why it's playing the Sunfalls and things to like reset, but you have to draw them. So I think there's a subset of games where this won't sort of come together. I'm worried about the consistency of this deck. It's very cool, but I'm just worried about the consistency of it.
Yeah, I agree. The thing that I see in this is you're talking about like Sunfall on 5, but have we had an opportunity to deploy Wedding Announcement and the Decasia's Welcome before that, or are we just getting overrun? And so if you haven't had a chance to set up with everything you need to before you hit Sunfall, like I feel like there's going to be a bunch of turns where you're just like, I play a Lunarch Veteran, and then Joffrey Bieber was playing mono red, right?
Yeah.
The very aggressive, like 16 1-drop mono red deck, very similar to the one we were talking about before.
4 copies of Urbra's Forge in the main deck.
Yeah, but it just feels like Aragoth might have to play a 1-drop and then play Destroy Evil, No More Lies, maybe jam a Schooner, and then they have to sweep.
Yeah.
And they haven't developed it all. And then Mono Red just goes, okay.
I've got all the hasty guys.
Plays 3 more haste creatures.
Yeah, and that's where I think that the Mono Red deck might, Aragoth deck's very cool, and I want to see it do well because it's cool. And he'll absolutely have draws where he just gums up the ground so much that Mono Red can't get through. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the hands that Mono Red comes out of the gates and overruns him is a higher percentage than the aforementioned game where he is able to sort of stabilize and get too far ahead. So yeah, I think leaning too much on 3 sweepers in your deck, I guess, but we'll see. But Aragoth's a great player, and who knows what could happen.
Oh, for sure.
But
for sure.
I'll as much as it pains me to say, I think the Mono Red deck might get the chocolates here.
Can we look at the Mono Red deck sideboard for a second? Because there are copies of a card that apparently exists. It's Koth, Fire of Resistance. So Koth, our boy, he's back. I mean, he's been back for a long time, but I just never see play. But he deals damage equal to target creature, the number of mountains you control. Again, 18 mountains in this deck with the sideboard Secret Mountain.
Yeah. So I can go up to 23 lands.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Koth, Fiery Gyre as well. So yeah, a bunch of stuff going on here.
Yeah, the Planeswalker plan, bringing in a land and Planeswalkers to be a bit more mid-range with your Urabrask's Forge than the usual suspects. But there are 4 copies of the Frenzy. Yeah, it's a slightly different take on the Mono Red deck, and Urabrask's Forge is a card, dude.
It sure is.
Makes me want to play Skull Clamp.
Oh, I mean, I always want to play Skull Camp, but yeah, that's
yeah, absolutely.
Pretty good thing.
One more matchup.
One more match.
So we got 20k blue,
yep,
and Mark Wallbang. So
yep,
what are these?
It's a mirror.
It's a mirror.
It's a Boros mirror.
Okay, so that is interesting. What are the points of difference in these decks then?
Not a lot. Mark Wallbang's got an extra 1-drop.
20k blue's got an extra land.
An extra 2. Yeah.
20k blues from Wagga. My money's on 20k blue. Because
Nah. Wallbang's got an extra copy of War Leader's Call.
Okay.
I think that card seems really important in this matchup.
It does seem really important.
In the mirror, like in a lot of places, but it's going to... The chip damage, I think, will really matter. You're not blocking very often. So just having the extra access to making sure that you can get that extra little ping in all the time.
The boy from the Housing Commission area in Ashmont, Wagga, wants the Wagga boy to do well, the Wagga player to do well. So,
and that's fair.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's
my heart says 20k blue. My mind says coin flip.
Yeah, that's okay. yeah. Totally. I think that is very fair.
What's in the sideboard? Is there a sideboard things that can tip a matchup?
Wallbang's got an extra copy of In the Festivities.
Okay, that's big.
But 20k is going up the full 4 copies of the Forge. And Wallbang doesn't have any copies of the Urabrask's Forge.
Okay, interesting.
So a little bit slower, a little bit bigger.
And being the bigger deck in the mirror is often the way to go.
Yeah, so, definitely. You can't go underneath.
No, you can't get any further down to the ground. So, it's kind of the Forge versus Bunnycorn.
The Bunnycorn. Yeah, it is.
So, and I think the Forge gets it done eventually.
Well, the fact that it's got trample makes a huge difference. So they're ever increasing. It's still a singular threat each turn, but the trample is a big game, and this deck just spews out tokens. So I think the Bunnycorn can get chumped for days.
Yeah, and eventually get out valued, just be bigger. Like the Urabrask Forge things will be bigger. So yeah, I still think it's a bit of a coin flip, but I'm gonna go with my heart and say 20k blue because of geography.
Sure.
That's my tiebreaker. Nothing against Kiwis, where Mark Wallbank's from. We love our Kiwi neighbours, but it's the Riverina, God's country and all that. No, there's a reason I moved, but it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, you're from that place that I'm from, so we're friends. So shout out.
We are mates.
Yeah, exactly. So, shout out 20k, and in a tiebreaker, I have to. So that's what it'll be. So, super interesting. Really looking forward to doing some coverage again. And
me too. These decks are going to be a lot of fun to talk about. And listen, don't blink, because there are 7 copies of Boros Kavoke, and then we've got 2 copies of Mono Red. And let me tell you, these matches, they don't last long. These aggressive decks, they win fast or they lose fast. Yeah,
it's going to be some. It's going to be
fireworks.
Some fire. Yeah. It's explosive decks. Absolutely. Like locking horns on the arena battlefield, with you and I trying to keep up with what's happening and bringing it to you on stream. So looking forward to it.
I'm excited. It's just not mid-range soup again like we've had in the past. This format has got everything, man. Hard control decks, hard aggressive decks, reanimator.
Yeah, there's combo, like in that sense. And then the pure mid-range decks, like Azzy G's, like it's cool. It's good to see, and I was apprehensive on how the health of standard would be with the current rotation policy, but as it stands today, and it might change, format shift, but as it stands today, seems pretty cool. The Boros deck is obviously the most popular deck, but I feel like everybody's prepared. There's nobody that's rocked up here and gone, oh, I didn't think anyone would play the Boros deck. Oh no, right? Like there's no
no one registered Delver of Secrets
when reading the decks here. So yeah, I think it's cool. We've got a stacked top 16 with some really good players. Somewhat diverse format. We've definitely got a deck with a target on it, like our top 16, I guess, have decided is the best deck, at least for this tournament. And tune in at 10 o'clock Saturday, Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, to see how these matches go and crown our ultimate winner of the 2023 Magic Beans Invitational.
Yeah,
sounds pretty epic when you say it out loud, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. It is epic, man.
Say it in your voice. Say it in your voice.
A lot of the Magic Beans 2023 Invitational Champion.
See, that's so much better than me.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's what I've had some practice. I did the intro video yesterday. I said it a couple of times, but I mean, the Invie is always a blast. We always have a lot of fun. Chat always has a lot of fun with us. We always have heaps of giveaways. We've got stacks of product this time we just want to give it away. It's what, Pat gives it to us and we give it to you, and all you have to do is go #beans giveaway and you're in. Yeah. It's done.
Absolutely. Just
easiest just being magic of your life.
Yeah, exactly. Just bulk value. So it's straight your Saturday, have us on your background while you're, doing whatever you're doing, grinding arena, picking out the best deck. Or your favorite deck from here, and building it and seeing how it goes. So it's I've got to get you a shirt with like the Reanimate art on it or something, don't we? Yeah. No, I think so. Yeah. All right.
We have gone very long. This is not the fabled short podcast because we're excited and there's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to keep the wrap up short. magicbeanscast.com. It has links to all of the things that you need. Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar, also in the show notes. Check them out. You know who they are. You know how much we love them. And come just take free Magic cards off us on Saturday.
Looking forward to giving them away. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
And I'm really, really looking forward to crowning a champion. And who knows, maybe we get a back-to-back. Maybe we get
A 2-time?
You know, a double up, 2-time. Yeah. We've got, Hemsey has a chance to be the 2-time champ, and obviously Plunks wants to win 2 in a row. So there's a lot of really good stuff. And then we just get to find out, can Azzy ever beat Sarah?
I don't think he can. Just don't think he can.
The thing is, he's trying as well.
Oh yeah.
Like he's not, there's no scooping or like deliberate misplays. He wants to win.
Absolutely.
He just doesn't seem like he can.
No.
So
Azzy G, if you win the Invitational, beating Sarah along the way, my shout at Fancy Hanks, mate.
Oof.
If you needed any incentive, that is...
Listen, Cuban barbecue. Also, not this weekend, but the following weekend. So we have got the RCQ is coming to Melbourne. So that is the weekend of the 8th of March. At this stage, it looks like all the beans are going to be there on the Friday. Chris and I are planning on jamming a bunch of Modern. Chewy and Shorty are planning on jamming a bunch of Highlander. There will be Commander decks there. If you're going to be in Melbourne, please tell us. We want to see you. We want to hang out. It'll be a lot of fun. We're going to be there. I don't know if we'll be there much over the weekend, but definitely the Friday, planning on being there for the whole thing. So hit us up. Let us know.
Look forward to seeing you there, guys.
We will see you all on Saturday. Thanks. Bye.